Hello, seventh graders. Happy Wednesday. We are going to do Southern Europe economy today, so Southern Europe part 3. And as you can tell from this structure behind you, some of you may be able to recognize it. This is the Roman Colosseum. A lot of the economy of Southern Europe is based heavily on tourism. And so we'll talk about today why tourism is such a big driving factor for the economy of Southern Europe, and some other things that bring money to this area. Starting with Spain. So, like I said, in Spain and as in other parts of Southern Europe, tourism is the #1 industry. Spain is lucky because it also has a lot of nice beaches right along the Mediterranean Sea, and so it benefits heavily from those nice warm beaches. However, religious buildings and historical structures are also huge, and you're going to notice this as a trend. Historical structures everywhere throughout Southern Europe are big tourist draws, including this picture you can see over here on the right-hand side. This is called the La Sagrada Familia, which means the Holy Family Church. La Sagrada Familia was started back in the late 1800s by a Spanish sculptor named Antonio Gaudí. But the scale for which Antonio Gaudí wanted for the church was so much so that the church is actually not yet finished being built. Like I said, it started in the late 1800s. I believe, and I might see there might be a note on the next slide that corrects me on this. I believe construction is due to be finished in 2020 or 2022. So in our lifetimes, construction of this church will finally finish. But this church is packed with symbolism. You can see the 4 main towers there. Those are to represent the 4 gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. There's a lot of symbols of the number 12 for the 12 disciples and the 12 tribes of Israel. Sometimes there are 3 for the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. There's just a lot of Christian symbolism packed into this church. And so it's just been magnificent in structure, and the architectural design is immensely complicated. And so yeah, it's taken over 100 years for this thing to be constructed, and it's still not finished. I got some pictures here of the La Sagrada Familia just because it is an immense structure. Oh, 2032. Oh wow, I was way off there. So 2032 is when it is due to be completed. So still in our lifetimes. Let's see, we're recording this for 2017, and so we are 15 years away from it being completed. But yes, in 15 years, it will finally be completed. It will have taken, you can do the math there, it will have taken 150 years to construct this piece of work. And you can see kind of the interesting design there. It's kind of got a bit of a honeycomb design going on for it there. Let me see what we got in this next picture here. So this is looking up to the top, and I mean, just a lot of different things you can see. You can see the beautiful, you can see again just the beautiful colors, the stained glass windows. Again, that honeycomb feeling. You can see that. You can see up there again symbolism. So you've got again the 4 gospel writers here: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So again, this church is just packed with symbolism. And just what I want you to notice as I pull up this next one, look at how it stands out compared to the rest of Barcelona here. That is La Sagrada Familia. And again, this is actually a model for when it's totally completed because it's not finished yet. But this is how it just stands out compared to everything else. You can see the structures around it there. Those are not small structures. Like those are like 7, 8-story structures. Like those are large buildings, and this thing towers above everything else. So it's kind of like building a skyscraper of a church as well. But like I said, it's due to be completed in about 15 years, I believe is what we said. So in our lifetimes, it will be finished, but it is a massive, massive work of art and architectural design. You can see all the different steeples there. Again, I think there's that 12 right up there in the front. Yeah, just lots. In every tower, everything has symbolism in the La Sagrada Familia. Okay, moving on to Portugal and Italy. Portugal, which is connected right with Spain, is the world's largest producer of cork and also relies heavily on tourism. Portugal also has some very nice beaches that face the Atlantic Ocean. I have to make sure to go over here because to me, presenting to you what to me is on the right-hand side comes off on the video on the left-hand side. But anyway, in Italy, again, heavy emphasis on tourism, especially anything that came from the Roman area or anything involved with Catholic cathedrals. Those structures themselves are just magnificent works of architecture. The north of Italy tends to be a little bit wealthier. This is a little bit more where the tourist attractions are. This is where you have Venice, Rome. This is where you have Milan. This is where you have kind of the fancier cities of Italy. The south tends to be much poorer by comparison. And I have a picture here of the trash. The southern part of Italy also is just kind of known to be a trashier area to be. Heading over to Greece. Greece has for a long time been reliant on trade. I believe we've already talked about this. The landscape of Greece is not good for farming. It's very mountainous. You can grow a good wine crop and good olive oil, and you can herd sheep and goats. That's not going to get you usually much wealth. And so the Greeks have had to trade for centuries in order to survive. The Greeks do have a lot of good tourism, a lot of good ruins from ancient Greek society. Greece, of course, is considered to be the birthplace of democracy. And so a lot of people visit the Parthenon. A lot of people visit old Greek temples. So Greece is a common tourist attraction, as well as actually their beaches as well. But as far as their own economy, it is not doing well. And these numbers are last year's numbers, and I haven't updated them yet, but they are in a major debt crisis. The Greek economy, and it's a very complicated to explain, and I'm not going to explain it right now. But essentially, the Greeks have borrowed and borrowed and borrowed to the point that for the total wealth Greece produces in a year, their debt equals that amount and beyond. Their debt is 164% of how much their country is worth. And that's a problem. When you, as economists kind of believe that when you hit the 100% mark, that's when you're in trouble. So for example, in the United States, we're about at the 90% mark. And so we're not in a good situation, but you're not in trouble yet. When you hit that magic 100% mark where you have as much debt as you're worth, then you're in trouble. And then I have on there on the bottom, and unfortunately I'm not going to emphasize it too much, but we've talked about the euro, but I just want to make sure you understand that all of these countries we have discussed today are part of the European Union, and therefore they all use the euro. And those of you who do go into depth and learn more about why exactly Greece is in this difficult situation, part of it is because they are in the euro, but again, I don't have time to explain right now. Okay, recap as a class. What is the one thing that most countries in Southern Europe rely on for money? Excellent. Here are your funnies for today. Blending in very well on the job. Doug the pug, ready for Thanksgiving. I know Thanksgiving was last week, but still. I think he looks cute. And finally, I find that very cute. This was a second grader, by the way, who wrote this response. All right, and that is it. So now make sure you go on to the Google Classroom. I do have your Geography Bee quiz there, so make sure you do that. Just do the part that's assigned for today, and I'll see you all tomorrow.